So, first things first, I got new posters. Finally, right? After all these years. You can see I got the warning over here, and Granny Song, and Black Sabbath. Some very diverse posters. So, yeah. So that's fun. The second thing is that I need to make a video for the day, so, yeah. So I figured I'd just do some nerd stuff and leave it at that. So let's talk about Star Wars. The first thing I guess is like a short idea, and the second one's a bit of a longer idea. So I'm just gonna place them together into the two in one video. Yeah. First thing is the Darksaber and who owns it. So, from my understanding of the Darksaber, there are two ways, not two ways, but one way. The only way you could obtain or have the right to wield the Darksaber is through combat. So basically, if you win the Darksaber, if you don't know what the Darksaber is, actually, it's basically just a black lightsaber used by Mandalorians. So basically, if you use the Darksaber, or if you want to get the Darksaber, you have to win it through combat. Now, assuming that that's the only way that you can obtain the weapon, there are two ways in which we can go down this path. Alright, so let's start with Previous, because Previous was the first or second chronological wielder of the Darksaber that we know of. So Previous, he wields the Darksaber, and eventually he gets into business stuff with Maul. They do a coup, overthrow the Mandalorian government, and take over. And then Maul is betrayed by Previous, and so he now owns. Sorry, no. Maul is betrayed by Previous, and so in retaliation, he breaks out of the prison, challenges him to single combat, and wins the Darksaber from him. So now that Maul wields the Darksaber, he now rules Mandalore. I forgot to mention that. He who wields the Darksaber rules all of Mandalore. So now that Maul rules Mandalore, Sidious, or Palpatine, his former master, realizes that Maul is growing too strong in the Force, comes to Mandalore, fucks up Maul, kills his brother Savage Opress, and kidnaps him and tortures him until Maul breaks out. It's like a whole thing. Anyway, point is, Sidious has beaten Maul in combat, and so Sidious technically owns or wields the Darksaber. Now, the important point to note here is that Sidious never actually claimed the Darksaber, so by all accounts, he basically rejected the use of the weapon. Now, we know that in the Son of Dathomir comic, the Mandalorians found the Darksaber and returned it to Maul, which means that, based on this, that Sidious would have had to have laid claim to the Darksaber in order to wield Mandalore. Since Sidious did not do this, Sidious did not wield the Darksaber. He did not have any claim to Mandalore. So the Darksaber is basically up for grabs. Anyone can take it at this point. Since Maul has technically lost claim to it, although the Mandalorians did give it back to Maul, so maybe he didn't lose it. Well, let's just go down these two lines of thinking here. So let's go down the first route that I've just laid out. So let's say that now, for example, that Palpatine now wields the Darksaber, right? Palpatine, of course, is undefeated for years. He beats Yoda. He beats Yoda. Technically, he beats Windu. Shit. Okay, let me rethink this. Palpatine wielding the Darksaber. Palpatine now is beaten by Windu. Now, technically wields the Darksaber now that he's beaten Palpatine, but then Anakin comes in, off goes the hand. I guess I don't know who wins that fight, but let's just say, for consistency's sake, that Palpatine wins the Darksaber. So Palpatine basically just owns the Darksaber. He owns the Darksaber up till Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi comes, Luke defeats Vader, Palpatine electrocutes Luke, Vader throws Palpatine down a shaft, which technically means Vader now owns the Darksaber. Now, since Vader dies of, I guess, natural causes, if you want to call it that, because Palpatine's dead, so he can't really claim anything to it, Vader is now technically the last and final owner of the Darksaber, technically. Since Luke didn't beat Vader before Palpatine died, which means once Vader dies, there is basically the Darksaber's up for grabs. Right, so Vader's the last true owner of the Darksaber. If we're not going to assume that the ownership of this saber wouldn't just immediately transfer over to Luke. Now let's go down this other route. Let's say Maul, because Sidious doesn't claim the Darksaber, Maul just keeps on holding on to it until he meets up with Ahsoka. Ahsoka beats Maul in combat. Ahsoka now owns the Darksaber, and Ahsoka doesn't like lose a battle until she ends up meeting Vader again on Malachor, which means Vader again is the wielder of the Darksaber. But when we get to Return of the Jedi, Luke beats Vader, which means Luke now owns the Darksaber. But then Palpatine starts electrocuting Luke. I don't know if the Luke thing counts now if we're going down this line of thinking. Nah, let's not go down that line because Palpatine didn't really challenge Luke to a duel. So no, I guess in this case, if we go down the line of thinking that that Maul technically loses the Darksaber to Ahsoka, that Luke would be the most. That if we go down this line of thinking, that Luke ends up being the true wielder of the Darksaber. Right now, since obviously Maul didn't use the Darksaber in this duel, let's go down this other route where Maul ends up dying at the hands of Obi-Wan, because we know Obi-Wan is the last person Maul duels in single combat, and Obi-Wan of course kills Maul. Now again, since Maul doesn't have the Darksaber on him, Obi-Wan can't technically lay claim to it, but let's just say that he does for argument's sake. Obi-Wan now wields the Darksaber, and then Obi-Wan dies at the hands of Darth Vader, which means Darth Vader now owns the Darksaber. But then Vader loses the Darksaber in combat to Luke Skywalker, which means Luke is now the true wielder of the Darksaber. So basically, the way I see it, Luke Skywalker is the true wielder of the Darksaber. If we're going down the idea of the Darksaber being one only in single combat, Luke is the true wielder of the Darksaber. Obviously, in the first scenario that I laid out, Vader is the true wielder of the Darksaber, but I think in the case, and I'm only guessing, but I think in the case of Vader's death, the ownership of the Darksaber would probably just transfer over to Luke, since he is the next best person to wield the Darksaber, since both Vader and Palpatine are dead. So, yeah. In my opinion, Luke Skywalker would be the true wielder of the Darksaber. So, yeah. Now that I think about it, I'll probably just save that other idea for another video, because why not? And so I'll just leave it there. So yeah, see ya.